Part 1. If you haven't watched the previous part of Luffy's story and Robin's beautiful reunion with Saul, make sure to watch it first. Welcome back, my friends, to a brand new part of Luffy's story. Today, we will be covering the events of episode 1164. First of all, my friends, I want to thank you for helping the previous video reach 6,000 likes just as I asked. Now let's raise the challenge a little higher for this video and aim for 8,000 likes. I know it isn't difficult for you, and I know you can do it and make me happy just like you did with the last video. As for today's episode, my friends, we're entering some absolutely incredible events. The gate to the land filled with wonders and mysteries is opening, carrying amazing adventures for the Straw Hat crew. By the end of this episode, we will witness the arrival of a new threat unlike anything we've seen before. So get excited, my friends, because what is coming next is completely different from everything we've seen so far. The greatest arc in the world of One Piece is finally reaching its peak, and we will be following every moment of it here on the channel. Before we begin, send your blessings upon Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and let's get started. After Robin and Saul finished their beautiful reunion, Luffy walks over to them. He takes off his hat and stands respectfully in front of Saul. Luffy says, "A long time ago, you helped one of my crew members. Because of you, Robin was able to stay alive. For that, I want to thank you. I truly appreciate what you did." Everyone is shocked to hear Luffy speaking in such a formal way. Zoro asks, "Where did you learn to talk like that?" Usopp says, "This is the first time in history that we've seen Luffy speak so formally." Luffy struggles to finish his sentence as if he had memorized those words beforehand. Robin smiles and says to Saul, "Let me introduce him to you. This is our captain, Monkey D. Luffy." Saul smiles and says, "I know exactly who you are, Luffy." Luffy replies, "I'm really happy to finally meet you." It seems that whoever taught Luffy those formal words had a very difficult time doing it. Saul laughs and says, "You're famous, Straw Hat. I used to be part of the Marines, so I know exactly what it means to become an Emperor of the Sea." Saul notices how happy the crew members are and how genuinely joyful they are for Robin. Deeply moved, Saul says, "You finally found them, Robin." Robin nods and says, "Yes. Just like you told me long ago, I found true friends who are willing to do anything to protect me." Luffy immediately responds, "Of course. We have to protect you." The emotions in the scene are incredible. Tears begin flowing down Saul's face as he smiles. He looks at the crew and says, "Actually, I should be the one thanking all of you. You protected Robin all this time. I hope you remain friends forever, and I hope you continue protecting her." Luffy confidently replies, "Don't worry, we definitely will." Suddenly, Lilith appears and says, "Saul, it's been a long time since I've seen you." Saul looks at her in confusion. He says, "Who are you?" Lilith replies, "You don't remember me." Saul answers, "Sorry, but I feel like this is the first time I've ever seen you." Lilith says, "Well, technically it is the first time in a long while. How have you been?" Saul scratches his head and says, "I've been fine, but I still don't remember who you are. And how can you fly?" Lilith laughs and says, "You're still as slow as ever. I'm Vegapunk." At that moment, everyone notices the large container that Lilith brought with her from Egghead. Gerd says, "I'll carry it." Jinbe asks, "What's inside that box, Lilith?" Lilith answers, "Me." Gerd carefully places the container on the ground while everyone looks confused. When Lilith explains what's inside, everyone is completely shocked. She reveals that there is another version of Vegapunk inside the container. Not just any version, but a perfect copy that is identical to him in every way. Lilith explains that bringing it to Elbaf was important because she, or rather Vegapunk, had been coming here for the last 20 years. She continues, "Did you really think Vegapunk could disappear from his laboratory for months without the world government becoming suspicious? In other words, my friends, this copy was used to deceive the world government whenever Vegapunk was away." Sanji says, "What a genius, old man." Lilith continues, "The problem is that activating this copy outside of Egghead is very difficult. We need special and secure equipment to restart it." She then announces that she plans to stay in Elbaf and build a new laboratory for Vegapunk. Bonnie becomes extremely excited and asks, "Does that mean you'll be able to cure my father?" Lilith immediately replies, "Of course." Saul smiles and says, "If you really are Vegapunk, then I'm happy to see you again after 20 years. But honestly, I still don't understand how you became a woman." Lilith laughs and says, "Don't worry. I'll explain everything." Part 2. While they are talking, 3 giant children suddenly appear. They ask Saul, "Can we go play now?" Saul smiles and replies, "Yes, go ahead." Nami looks at them and says, "Even the children here are giants. That's amazing." Then a giant woman appears. We learn that her name is Angie, and she is one of Professor Saul's assistants. Angie explains that the place they are standing in is actually a spring where the children usually play. She also reveals that the children had been hiding quietly the entire time because they didn't want to interrupt Robin and Saul's reunion. And believe it or not, my friends, it turns out they had practiced staying quiet for this moment many times. Angie continues, "Right in front of us is the finest library and school in all of Elbaf." The moment Robin hears the word library, a smile appears on her face. Memories of the past return to her mind, and she becomes excited at the thought of discovering new knowledge. Angie says, "I'll take all of you on a tour." Meanwhile, Luffy and Usopp immediately begin exploring the area on their own. Saul laughs and says, "They seem really excited." The scene widens, revealing the enormous Walrus School, the place where Elbaf's children study and learn. Saul explains that he founded the school 20 years ago at the request of Elbaf's former king. The Straw Hat crew is amazed by the beauty of the school. Frankie says, "So this is where the warriors train." Saul turns to Angie and Gerd and says, "Take the crew wherever they want to go. Robin and I are going to visit the library." Angie says, "Anyone who wants to visit the school can come with me." Gerd adds, "And anyone who wants to see other places can come with me." Zoro says, "The school reminds me of the dojo. Let's go check it out." Brook agrees and says, "I'll go with Zoro." Nami asks Chopper, "Where are you going?" Chopper answers, "I'm interested in the library." Sanji immediately says to Nami, "No matter where you go, Nami, I'll come with you and protect you." Ah, Sanji. Always trying to act like the perfect gentleman. Jinbe then asks Frankie, "What about you, where are you going?" Frankie stares at the enormous tree surrounding the area. He says, "That tree is all I can think about right now." The story then shifts to Luffy, Usopp, and Zoro. A group of giant boys begins running around and playing with them. Luffy excitedly says, "Let's fight." Usopp adds, "Yeah. These are the warriors of the future. Let's see how strong they are." However, several giant girls suddenly appear and shout, "No fighting. Did you forget the rules?" Surprisingly, the boys immediately apologize. "We're sorry." Zoro looks confused. He says, "Are these really the future warriors of Elbaf?" More giant children appear and repeat the same thing. "No fighting allowed." Usopp is completely confused. "What do you mean, aren't you supposed to become warriors who sail across the seas in the future?" The children seem frightened by Usopp's words, as if he had said something that people are not supposed to say in modern Elbaf. One boy replies, "We're not going to do that. It's too dangerous." The girls add, "None of us wants to become warriors." Usopp is shocked by this completely unexpected answer. "What? How is that possible?" Suddenly, a giant woman's voice is heard. She says, "Because becoming a warrior is considered dangerous now. It's only natural that children would want to live far away from such risks." Usopp looks up and asks, "Who are you and why are you saying that?" The children quickly answer, "You should move away. You're standing on top of Teacher Ripley." A giant woman rises beneath them. This is Ripley, the biology teacher at the school. Ripley laughs and says, "Don't worry. You're so light that I barely noticed you." Usopp immediately asks, "Then explain this to us. Why don't they want to become warriors? I always thought every person in Elbaf dreamed of becoming a warrior and sailing the seas." Ripley replies, "That was 100 years ago. Back then, Elbaf's warriors terrified the entire world. Violence, Raiding, looting, and endless wars were common. But that is no longer our world. She continues, today, most people no longer wish to become warriors. Ripley then smiles and says, I heard about all of you from Saul. Welcome to Elbaf, Straw Hat Crew. Part 3. Usopp looks disappointed and says, so Elbaf is no longer the land of warriors. Ripley shakes her head and begins explaining. The former King Harold wanted Elbaf to change. He believed that instead of fighting the rest of the world, we should trade and cooperate with them. She continues, King Harold was the one who transformed modern Elbaf, even though many of the older giants opposed his ideas and remained attached to the old traditions. Angie adds, King Harold is the one who built the Elbaf we know today. As he worked to rebuild the nation and make his dream a reality, Atreus,